Welcome to the McAllister Report. We join John McAllister, top football evaluator, as he shares wisdom and interviews coaches and athletes from around the country. Enjoy today's podcast.
I'm John McAllister, and today I'd like to welcome you to my Coach's Corner. And my guest is the head football coach at Wayne State University in Detroit, and Paul Winters. Paul Winters has been coaching for a long time. He's been the head coach, I think, at Wayne State for 18 years. We talk about a lot of different things on this program today. We talk about Wayne State. We talk about Division II football. We talk about young athletes. And Paul gives his perspective on all of that. Paul played at Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary. He's from Akron, so that makes him an Ohio guy. And that's always good when I can do Ohio guys. So sit back and watch my video podcast with Paul Winters, head football coach at Wayne State University. My guest, as I said earlier, is Paul Winters, the head football coach at Wayne State University. Paul, how are you?
I'm excited to be a part of this, John.
Paul, first thing I got to ask you, because the people that watch, where is Wayne State University?
We are located in Midtown Detroit.
And what division of football do you play?
Division II football, GLIAC Conference, Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletics Conference.
Great Lakes, and your names, if I could drop some names there, Grand Valley State and Ferris State. And
Ferris just won national championship.
Right. And I'll have to tell you, we're going to talk about it. First, we're going to talk about Division II football and Wayne. Okay.
All right.
Tell me about Wayne University first.
Well, it's Wayne State University. No, it's all right. We're a Carnegie One research institution. In the state of Michigan, there's three: University of Michigan, Michigan State, and Wayne State. So we're a very dynamic major college. Even though we're Division II athletically, we are a research institution. So we have between 28 and 30,000 students. Like I said, we're located in Midtown Detroit. And we're really an excellent academic institution.
That's really good. And even though it's Midtown Detroit, it's a very good school, right?
Absolutely. Exactly. Well, we have a medical school. We have a law school. We have the Ilitch School of Business. I know Mike Ilitch gave us $60 million. He's the guy who started Little Caesars and owns the Red Wings and the Tigers.
Right. And he's a booster for you guys. That's really good. Yeah. Okay, tell me about Division II football. People in Ohio are familiar with Ashland and Finley and
Dominican, Tiffin. Yep.
And
they all used to be in our league. They all used to be in the GLIAC. Excellent football, Division II level. I'm most familiar in Ohio with Ashland because Coach Owens and I worked together for 9 years. But if you play Division II football, the biggest difference between Division II and Division I is really the scholarships that we have. As far as the workout schedules, the lifting, the meals, and everything else, it's all the same. And in our case, the degree is even better. So we're very proud of that.
So that's really good. And then tell me, pro scouts come by your campus all the time. Please tell me that.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's funny. We have a lot of advantages being in Detroit. When the pro scouts, first of all, we have the Lions. So we always have at least 2 Lion scouts that come in, a couple times a year to look at our practices and watch our kids. But also if the Indianapolis Colts fly into town, if San Diego Chargers fly into town, any team flies into town, we're the closest thing to the Detroit airport. So they stop at our place before they go to Michigan State. They stop at our place before they go to University of Michigan. So every one of our potential NFL players gets a lot of eyes on them.
It's so huge because people, as you know, and I know, they have this misconception about Division II football. And I think and I've said this before, and I'm not putting down Division III, but people always say, well, there's Division I, and then there's Divisions 2 and 3. Well, it should be there's Division I and 2, and then there's Division III. Does that make sense to you?
Well, you might want to say there's Division I, II, and Mount Union, and then there's Division III.
Yeah, right. Now I think there are 3 schools. There's somebody out west, Whitewater, or I don't know who they
Wisconsin Whitewater. Yes, sir.
It's good. Okay, that's really good. Division II. Now tell me something about Paul Winters. I did a little bit of homework, and I knew you played football at Akron St. Vincent St. Mary back. I was looking at this, by the way, back in '76, someplace.
Yeah, I hate the way you say it, like it's
You're
like
not
another.
that much younger than me.
It wasn't that long ago. It seems like it was, but it wasn't that long ago. I played for Johnson Stone, and the greatest coach in Ohio, in my opinion, in high school football. And I was very fortunate to play for teams that played in the playoffs and were AP not national champions, but state champions. And my freshman year, we won the state championship on the field, and we had really the best football.
You sure did, and you had very, very good players.
Absolutely.
And you, among them, being one of the rushing leaders definitely in St. Vincent St. Mary's history. And I don't want to get into this, but then you played at Akron, I think, and then
Yes,
and that's super. What about, let's go credibility college wise? You played at Akron, then you coached at Akron, and
well, I coached at Akron after my playing career ended. I was a GA, and I was hired full time by Coach Dennison, and then I went to Toledo for 4 years. I was at Toledo for 4 years, and then I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the Big Ten, and I was there for 5 years before I came back to Akron, and with Coach Owens, and I was back at Akron for 9 years before I took this job, and I've been here for 18.
that's what, and I've done well. That sounds really good. You've coached with Jim Dennison too, or played for Jim Dennison.
Played
You
and coached for him.
for 2 of the guys that I remember, and those are legendary football coaches now.
Absolutely. Coach Dennison, he's been a mentor for me and has really helped me on my career. And he's been the guy that I talk to when I need guidance.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic.
I think there are more than just you that do that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think a lot of guys like he and Coach Trussell both. Coach
Yes.
Trussell worked under him. So
Well, and Coach Trussell was my position coach when I was there.
is that right?
And when he was at Ohio State, it was great because I would visit, and he still would talk to me like he's my position coach. It kind of humbled me.
I'm sure he does. And he'll roll his eyes up to you sometime, or
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know Coach Trussell pretty well.
He would say, so what are you going to do? And it would I feel like I was back in 1976. So it's like, okay, fortunate to have great coaches in my past and that have helped me along the way, and hopefully I've learned from. I coached for Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin.
Right.
He's a legend as well. So I've had a number of legends that I've either worked with or played under or coached under.
Let's go real quickly. I think you said it, but let's go Division II, Division I. What's the difference more in players, for example? Although you get bounced back, transfer portal. in general, Paul, what's the difference?
I
So,
think that if you were to look at a Division I football team normally and a Division II football team, and I'm talking about the best of the ones and the
right,
best of the
right,
twos, I think the biggest difference is you're going to see the length.
right,
The Division Is have a tendency where you have 6'1" and 6'2" corners, where we have 5'9" and 5'10" corners.
right,
They have 6'5" and 6'6" and 6'7" offensive linemen, where we have 6'2", 6'3", and 6'4" offensive linemen. I think
right.
that's probably the biggest difference.
And your kids are strong. Your kids
Oh,
are fast. Your kids are
absolutely.
smart. And like you said, well, we're talking about that. And he made I read someplace where he made this comment about you, Mickey Molnar. Remember when he played? I think he played there for sure, and his brother. But Mickey was a
Mhm.
little bit shorter, fast, quick, tough. And he made this comment. I'm going to tell you what he said before you said. He said, Coach was into, you have to be mentally tough and physically tough to play. Okay.
Absolutely.
If you
Absolutely.
don't meet his standards, you don't play.
No, there's no
There's the
question.
truth to that.
It's a mental game. I mean, it's obviously a physical game, but if you're not mentally tough, you can't play football and be successful.
Yeah. The fun thing about, I ask kids, do you like football? No. Yeah. Yeah. Do you love football? Oh, yeah, I really do. And they have no clue what's ahead,
No, no,
especially now with me in
no.
the camps.
I think
Okay.
the thing we do, the winter conditioning, when you get to that's toughness training.
Oh, oh,
If you don't love football, you don't make it through winter conditioning.
that's true. You don't even get up for it. Okay, what do you look for? What do you look for in if you're going out to recruit? And I've
Hmm.
seen you at different places, and I've seen you at camps. What do
Hmm.
you look for in a player? If I'm a high school player right now, I'm going to hit the camp circuit. But what do you look for, Coach?
The very first thing that I ask every player that I talk to is, what are your grades? Are you a 3-point student? If you're not a 3-point student, it's a good possibility I'm not going to recruit you. Just because, like I said before, we're a Carnegie One research institution. It's not easy to get through here. You've got to work really hard. You've got to want to work really hard. You have to have goals, and things like that. From a football standpoint, what I'm looking for is quickness, change of direction, body type. You know, you can get fooled into liking a guy when you see that he's 6'1" or whatever. But sometimes he has not a very good frame.
Right,
Sometimes you know, you don't see any muscle that he's developed. You, you have to want to work. And if you see that this is a guy that works, I recruited a young man this year out of Cleveland Heights, who's a corner, and you can see physically he's a worker, and he's a guy who's going to come in and work real hard and be a good football player for us. So that's what you look for.
and then with that, if that being said, too, a worker, but so many kids, I think, and I guess I'm not supposed to use the words in the city, but I do. I'm old, but anyway,
Sure.
so many of those kids are so undeveloped, like kind of
Yeah.
like they work hard, and then if you're good enough, and I think I am, by the way, if you're good enough, you can see that. Now you
Right.
can't you'll lose, but if you can see, man, if this guy does this and this and this,
Exactly.
I can get in his head, he got a chance. And
Well, and
sometimes
you talk to the high school coach, and the
you're
high
right.
school coach will tell you, you know what, the kid, he never shows up in the weight room. It's
Right.
like, well, then he's no good to us because he's not going to improve.
No, I think so much, and I think sometimes in the bigger cities, the suburbs, a lot of those kids in those bigger schools. I've had arguments, or I think some of those kids in the bigger schools, they're at the peak of their game right now. They're
Hmm.
well coached, but they're in their peak, and then that's why I think it's so. In Cleveland Heights, you mentioned that name. My goodness, what a coach! What a
Oh, he
program.
does a fantastic job. Great program.
I told one of his coaches, I said, he's got to get a little bit stronger physically. I'm joking because he's a great guy.
Yes, he is. He is.
Okay, let's
Yes.
talk about. We talked about academics, and my goodness, you've expressed that how strong they are at Wayne State. And it's funny because if you're the connotation, you said Detroit right now. Oh, I bet, and that's so important. You know what I'm saying? I'm being
Yeah.
realist.
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
And you saying these things really kind of dispels that thinking, a little bit because you're tough programs.
Well,
Uh,
if you look at the history since I've been here, we've had more academic all league guys. We've had more National Football Foundation award winners than anybody at our level. Every year, for the most part, in the last 10 years, as an example, we've had more National Football Foundation winners, which is basically guys over a 3.5 a cum, than any school in Michigan, including Michigan and Michigan State. Our guys, they excel, and I'm very proud of that part.
that's good. Okay, let's talk about what do you what do you expect from the new recruits, like coming in here in about what? You probably have some of them
Two
now pretty
months.
soon, all summer. What do
Mm-hmm.
you expect from those guys? I'm a high school student now. What am I expecting from Wayne State, from you and your coaches?
Well, I want our guys to get up here and start working with our current players as soon as they can. And if it means like staying on a guy's couch for the week,
Right.
but lifting and doing 7-on-7 and preparing yourself, I want them to do that. Once they get here in August and we start camp, the biggest thing I want to see is that they're willing to learn. How they listen, how they learn, how they take instruction and take it from the boardroom to the field. That's important, and really, I want to see that guys are excited to work. Um, for us, August when you get in the camp, that's Christmas. I've
Yeah.
got 30 guys that we signed or asked to walk on, and those are 30 Christmas gifts that I open up. And so when I get the chance to see them play, that's a big deal.
And hopefully, most of those presents are ones you don't want
Never
to re
give up.
re-gift or something like that. But tell me, how do you prepare them for jobs? You guys football? How do you
Oh,
prepare
a
for
great
the
question.
degree? How do you
Yeah.
prepare? You coach you personally. How do you prepare them?
Well, one of
And
the
your
things
program,
that we do every year. So when you come in here, even as a freshman, every year I give you what we call our winner's manual. I got that from Coach Tressel.
right?
It's a smaller version of what he did at Ohio State, and the winner's manual has really we talk about PMA, positive mental attitude, just teaching them things like that, teaching them how to deal with stressful situations, how to overcome obstacles. But we also teach them how to write resumes and things like that. And then we have many of our alums, guys who played for me, will come in and we'll have job interviews and we'll sit them down and talk to them about how to present yourself as
Right.
a college student.
Good.
um, from the time they walk in, we eliminate the earrings and the things that are not representative of a professional attitude.
Good. And developing a professional attitude is one of your jobs. Paul, how can you get African American coaches? And I'll say that. How do you
Mhm.
prepare them to go out and get college jobs or high
it's
school jobs?
it's really the same thing. You teach them to be professional.
Let's go
um,
college jobs. How do you
Yeah, as a young, I've had young assistants. I actually just hired this year my former defensive back, Antoine Robinson, who played for me in 2010, 2012. He was a GA for me, and I just hired him as my defensive back coach because he knows what he's doing. Hopefully I've taught him the right things, but he knows how to present himself professionally. He knows how to he display a proper attitude at work, to go out on the road and recruit, and to spend time, look a guy in the eye and shake his hand, and
Right.
wear the proper clothing. I mean, it's kind of like, it's when you talk about how do you prepare a guy for the coaching profession, it's the same way you prepare a guy to go out into the business world.
I totally agree. Okay, just a couple more questions. Football camps, how important are they?
Um,
Summer college football camps, how important?
they're very important, but they're overdone. I think that we have two camps this year that we're hosting, and we try to get as many colleges as possible so a kid comes in and can get exposed to different schools, different levels, because we'll have NAIA schools, we'll have Division III schools, and then we'll have Power 5 schools, and other Division 1s. Like we host a camp with Cincinnati, Michigan's coming in, Michigan State, Penn State, Minnesota, and we've had it with Florida, we've had it with Alabama, who is it? Tennessee. Yeah. So those are nice. But what happens is you go to a camp and there's 800 kids at the camp. You can't tell who's who. It's almost impossible to evaluate kids. But if you can go to a camp where you have a relationship with the coach came into your school in the spring, talk to your coach about you, there's an interest, and you go to that camp, then you can show them, yeah, I'm what you're looking for. If you go to that camp and you don't perform, then maybe you don't belong at that school. So it's really a positive either way. It's not that you're failing, it's just that you're finding your level. And sometimes guys don't understand that you don't have to be a Division 1 athlete to be successful. You can go and really fit better at a Division 2 school, be very successful, maybe have more playing time, and earn your degree, and have a great career. Your career can be better at Wayne State than it might be at, I'm not going to pull out any MAC schools, but you understand what I'm saying. The opportunities are there everywhere.
How has the treatment of kids changed over the years?
Well, I think kids have changed, so they kind of forced you to treat them differently. I think that a lot of the rules are made to make it better for the students. So as a coach, our biggest thing is we have to really explain things more clearly for the players so that they understand why we make our decisions. I try to not to leave any guesswork for them. Hey, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it. And you're not going to do it because I told you to do it. You're going to do it because it's the right thing to do.
That's good. That's the right thing to do. The right thing. That's really good, Coach. Okay. We talked about character. We talked about what you look for. And then let's finish. You also made a statement, and trust me, I follow this. Since I've done this football business, I totally follow it. If I wanted to make money, I'd have a recruiting service and charge $500.
Right.
I never charge to the colleges, yeah. But
Sure.
and you made the statement, sometimes chasing money is not as important as developing young men. What does that mean? to you?
Well, there's a lot of coaches that have risen up in the profession at extraordinary rates, and God bless them. That's something they've wanted to do. In some cases, they've taken lateral positions for more money. Um, I have I chased a head coaching job because I wanted to be a head coach, and once I got that job, I wanted to develop. I'm kind of really an old school guy. I wanted to develop a program, not just a team or a
Right,
season,
right.
and I wanted it to be a place that was respected, and that the graduates were desired, and ultimately having opportunities to make more money obviously is a big deal, and it's always important. That's the American way, but it's not always necessary. There can be enough. You can make enough. And who knows, maybe when I retire, I didn't make enough and I'm completely wrong, but I've never chased a job for money. I've never really left a good job other than when I've been forced to leave.
Yeah. Okay. That's really super. And the questions just keep rolling on. Uh, Coach, the last thing I would talk about, and honestly, it involves race.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's cut to the chase. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been doing this since when Bookdale would have 10 coaches. They'd have a head coach and maybe two guys that knew about football, and the rest of them were all neighbors and friends.
Mm-hmm.
They'd all
Mm-hmm.
be dressed up in great coaching outfits. And I'm not picking on Bookdale because I have a high respect for that program, a super respect. But the times back in those days, coaches would say, "Hey, you dumb butt." They didn't say "but." You missed your block. Go sit down. Okay, that's what they'd
Yeah.
say. They didn't tell them anything. But
Right.
now
Didn't coach them.
didn't coach him at all. And
Right.
now I see so many young coaches, African American coaches coming back who have either played and gotten a degree or who have played and so for some reason they didn't get a degree, but anyway, they're great guys. They're great young men.
Yes.
I tell those guys, they're kids, but I tell those guys, and I give them my 3-minute story on that, but how
Mm-hmm.
important it is. And I've had guys thank me. I've had guys send me an email because I appreciate those guys. And
Mm-hmm.
how are how are you helping those guys? Are you doing anything, or maybe you already said it
Yeah.
earlier, I guess. But
No.
I want to
I,
nail down, Paul, the African American coaches because it's
you know,
huge.
what we've tried to do. First of all, when you talk about Bookdale, there's no bigger fan than Ricky Powers, and the years he had at Bookdale than me. Ricky, he's like a brother to me. I love him. But you talk about young coaches. When I was a young man, um, I lived a block away from Bookdale, so I would walk around and watch the young teams, the Pee Wee teams, and I was blessed to play for Coach Sistone, so I knew a lot about football. Um, I would see how those guys in the neighborhood coach these young kids, and it made me sick because they just had them running into each other as hard as they could, and they weren't coaching them, and it was something that really bothered me. And this is before I became a coach. This is when I was just
Yeah,
playing. I knew it was wrong. So one thing that I did, we did it at Akron. We did it here. Um, I'll have like clinics and don't charge anything. Just coaching clinics and invite the high school coaches to bring their staffs down and have our offensive line coach talk to them about offensive line play. Just have the ability to come in and talk football and to get on the board and ask questions. We've done that for years. Sometimes it's really attend it well. Sometimes there's nobody that comes. You know, a lot of times, unfortunately, you know how kids want to go to Division Ones, coaches want to go to Division Ones, and they are like, well, the Division II guys don't know anything. Yeah, we kind of do. So just try to give them an opportunity to learn.
That's really good. I just think it's so huge, and I'm a 73 years old, but I really think I'm a young guy in my mind, and I think, and then myself. Times change, you change. See, I apply that to myself now, even, and it's just so important.
Yes.
Well, Coach Winters, this has gone much longer than I thought. It's been so informative, and you've looked into my camera, looked at the camera a lot, so you're good.
I tried. I screwed that up a little bit.
Closing shots here.
Okay.
Transfer portal a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not done yet. I'm going to talk. I patted myself after Woody Hayes, and he used to do interviews like this and just talk. But
just keep going.
How has the transfer portal changed the whole landscape?
I hate it. Absolutely hate it. It's one of the changes that I don't think is necessarily a positive. I think the transfer portal has taught young men that you don't have to overcome adversity. You just change, just leave. I don't ever think that's the way to do it. I will tell you a lesson I learned in 3rd grade from my dad that sticks with me today. And I tell my guys, he told me that if you want to play football, West Akron Pee Wees, you want to play football, you can, but you're not going to quit. He said, if you want to play, I'm good with you playing, but you're not going to quit. And I ended up not playing that year. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. The next year, he gave me the same talk. You can play, not going to quit. I went and played, haven't quit playing football since. You know, and it was a lesson of, hey, it's going to be hard. You're going to have times, you know, you may not start, you may not play, but there's no quitting. And what the portal's saying is, hey, you know what, it doesn't work out, leave, quit. And ultimately, I've had a few people enter the portal. And to me, you can frame it any way you want. It's quitting. I will say this on behalf of some of the players, just because you need to be fair. If a college coach tells a kid, I'm not going to play you and I'm going to take your scholarship, it's a good thing he has the portal. So it is a positive that way. But I don't like the ones who, you know, they're in great situations. Like the guy leaves Pittsburgh as he was was it the Bolitnikoff Award winner, and he's going to leave. If you want a major award at a school, you really can't do any better than that. You know, so what's the adversity that you're leaving for? Well, I'm going to get more money at this other school. Again, now you're chasing money, and chasing money doesn't bring happiness. So
I think it's really good.
All around
it's important that people listening to this understand that. Coach Winters, thank you very much for being on my podcast, and I really, really appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
Can I look at you now?
I appreciate it.
All right. I loved it.